Welcome to Corrections Mama Channel 27. So I'm going to do another video on the disciplinary rules and procedures for inmates. This is the book it's coming out of. It's a handbook given to officers and inmates. This is a reference book where we can reference what kind of tickets we want to write and what the rules are and what the offenses mean. So the last video we covered level 1 offenses, and this video, and we also covered what constitutes an offense, and just some of the basic disciplinary offenses and information and what they mean. So we're going to go ahead and do level 2 offenses. It starts from 11 to, 20 to 30. 11 to 30 rules. So 11 would be a level 2 offense. Any act defined as a misdemeanor by the laws of the state of Texas or the United States specific reference should be made in the disciplinary report and statute, including in statute in question. So if you break a law of the misdemeanor, now this includes, let's think about what that means. This could mean that you're scamming people out of money. Happens a lot. Inmates be scamming people out of their money through letters and relationships and things like that. If someone complains that you have been scamming them, you know, stuff like that. Anything that would be considered a misdemeanor. 12, the use or possession of narcotics, marijuana, or unauthorized drugs, including prescription drugs. It's a level 2 offense. 13, the use, possession, or distilling and or brewing of any alcohol beverage, aka hooch. So if you're in possession of alcohol, you're going to get in trouble for sure. So if you're going to use, they would usually steal stuff from the kitchen, from the chow hall, fruit, sugar, yeast, bread. 14, the use or possession of any intoxicating inhalants. So that's kind of I guess like a drug, right? If you're on the paint crew and you grab some paint or something and you start huffing it, you know what I mean? I've seen crews bring in stuff, sneak in some things and be using that. 15, a level 2 offense. This is a very common offense, trafficking and trading. The buying or selling or unauthorized exchange or transfer of any commodity from any individual within the unit, other than making authorized purchases from the commissary. Evidence may include an excessive inventory of marketable items. In Texas, they were fairly strict about that. So they had to be very cool and calm about it, but it happened all the time. Inmates would traffic and trade things to get their needs met. It could be anything, like things you wouldn't think would be worth a lot of money would be stamps, stuff like that. It could be arts and crafts. It could be stuff that they've made. It could be, there's a lot of different things. It could be commissary food. I've got a honey bun and you got Twinkies. Let's trade. And oftentimes these things are also used to barter for favors, sexual favors. You do this for me, I'll do that. It's not always sexual favors. It could be any kind of favor. I need you to send this message over here. I need you to tell this person this or that. You have access to that area because you're a porter. So on and on it goes. There's 1,000 different ways to traffic and trade. 15, establishing or operating an unauthorized business enterprise within the institutional division. That happens a lot. Selling drugs, inmates will make candies and food and sell it. It's really basically a side hustle. If you have any kind of side hustle in Texas and they find out about it and write you up for it, it's a level 2 offense. And level 2 offense is serious. You can lose a lot of good time. Honestly, Texas was very tough on their disciplinary. Inmates really cared about disciplinary reports. They didn't care that much in Arizona because the consequences were so low that they're like, write me up, I don't care. In Texas, they'll be bawling and crying, begging you not to write a ticket. Because, and most inmates have some kind of side hustle. Some of them will sew clothes. Some of them will sew alterations to your clothes to make them look better, fit better. Oftentimes, they will do laundry. I was a by-the-book officer. But I also knew that a lot of inmates did laundry for other inmates and they had hot side hustles. As long as they didn't include drugs, alcohol, or anything serious, oftentimes I would look the other way. But if we were doing searches and you were doing someone else's laundry, one big thing they would do would be press their whites. And they would starch them and press them and make them look real fancy, like for visits and stuff. I really didn't care about that. If I searched your house, I would take them, but I wouldn't write you up a ticket for that. So, 16, possession of contraband. For the purpose of these rules, contraband is A, any item not allowed when the inmate arrived at TDCJ, not given or assigned to an inmate by TDCJ, and not bought by an inmate for the use of from the commissary. So if we're doing a major shakedown and you got a crap load of store, if we don't find receipts or you don't produce a receipt for all the extra store you have, we seize it. It's ours now. We seize it, we give you a seized property report. So if you have anything altered, say you've got a radio and you alter it somehow, put an antenna on it or do something weird to it, or you have a light or some kind of other type of fixture or a stinger, oftentimes those were altered. Anything that you buy from the store, appliance-wise or clothing-wise or whatever, if you alter it, we're supposed to seize it and write you a ticket. Some things I would just seize. Sometimes I would write a ticket. Sometimes I wouldn't. Depended how serious it was. B, any item changed from its original condition if the change jeopardizes institutional safety or security. So if you liked to smoke tobacco or weed and you made a lighter out of a electrical cord where they put it in the outlets and spark it, that would be something that would be considered dangerous. You burn down the place, short out the place. Sometimes some inmates would short out the whole thing and the whole run would go out of power because somebody was sparking something up and it just would flit the breaker. C, any item which, in judgment of the TDCJ, personal unreasonably hinders the safety and effective operation of the unit. So, if they think it's dangerous and it's hindering the safe and effective operation of the unit, whatever it is, they left that open and broad because inmates are always finding new ways and new things to do. Any item possessed in excess in the amounts authorized. So this would be like when you go to the store, you're only allowed to spend so much money depending on your custody level. If you're a higher custody level, you have money on the books, but you're only allowed to spend $20, then you're only allowed to spend $20. So if you have more than $20 worth of stuff in your cell, they'll give you a little room in case you had stuff left over from the last store visit. But if you have excessive stuff, that's what they're talking about. That means you might be running a business, or you're hoarding, or people are paying you for stuff. So there are certain amounts. They oftentimes will put limits on how many property boxes you had and stuff like that. So they did have limits on stuff that you could have or not. Okay, that includes 1, money, 2, items used for gambling, such as device and playing card. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that one. F is anything an inmate is not supposed to have, like, but are not limited to: money, items used for gambling, such as dice and playing cards. In Texas, dice and playing cards were not allowed. Inmates would gamble up and get a bunch of debt, and then we had fights over it and all kinds of drama. Arizona, we didn't care about dominoes. We didn't care about cards and dice. If they got in debt, they just got beat up. Books, magazines, and newspapers that were not approved for the inmate to have. So they don't allow certain things like pornography, obviously, Playboy, Playgirl. They don't authorize books that contain violence and stuff like that. So there's certain things on approval list, and if it contains certain information, especially information that would be a danger to the institution, they generally wouldn't let you have it. And if you were found in possession of it, you were in violation. 4, clothes that are not approved for an inmate to have. That speaks for itself. 5, handcuffs or other items used for restraining inmates, including keys. I would think that should be a level 1, but they have it as a level 2, but level 2 is still serious. So that's self-explanatory. 17, stealing, intentionally taking any property belonging to the state or another person. Happened a lot. A lot of thieves in prison. A lot of porters would steal stuff from their work area, bring it home. They would steal wax and wax up their floors, wax up their lockers, make it look all shiny. They would steal pens, markers, staples, anything that they could find that was, maybe you'd find the admin and secretary drawers or stuff like that. I knew it was a big deal too if you were to make copies from the copy machine of anything. You can get in a lot of trouble for that. So that would be considered stealing. 18, damaging or destroying property. Intentionally damaging or destroying property belonging to the state or another person. So if you're damaging state property, that's actually a license for staff to use force. So they don't want you destroying state property, causing the taxpayer money. So don't do that. That also could be another charge that they add to if you're writing or whatever. 18.1 is unauthorized use of state property. 19, gambling. Betting on the outcome of any event, including sporting contests, possession of gambling paraphernalia, may be sufficient evidence. So oftentimes when people gamble, they have a little book or paper or something where they put down what people place their bets on and how much they place so they keep track of it. If we ever found any of that, you'd be charged with that. 20, sexual misconduct. Engaging in sexual acts with others. Engaging in sexual acts, including masturbation, in public soliciting sexual acts from others, exposing an inmate's anus or any part of his or her genitals with the intent to arouse or graffiti. The the sexual desire of any person or homosexual conduct involving physical contact, including kissing. So in Texas, you're not allowed to hug each other. You're not allowed to touch each other. Definitely no kissing. I don't care if it's a peck on the cheek. It's not allowed. Inmates cannot consent to sex, period. I don't care who's asking for it or who's getting involved in that. Inmates cannot consent to sex. There's a lot of things they can't consent to. Sex is one of them. But they do it. We catch them. They get in trouble. I didn't like walking up on it because I didn't like seeing it. Let's see. So then, 21, fighting without a weapon or assaulting an inmate without a weapon. So fighting without a weapon is a lesser charge than fighting with a weapon. Makes sense, right? 22, threatening to inflict harm, physical or otherwise, on another inmate. Inmates may not be punished. However, for threatening to take action they are legally entitled to take, such as filing a grievance or lawsuit. So they're talking about physical harm, not lawsuits. I guess that probably came up at some point. 23, creating a disturbance. Any act or activity which results in disruption, institution of the operation, or breach of the institution's security. A disturbance is just basically causing problems, misbehaving. It's lesser than a riot. It could be an inmate coming up to me, yelling and screaming at me, waving his hands, refusing to put them behind his back, and acting crazy. That would be considered a disturbance. And why is it considered a disturbance? Because when something like that happens, other inmates tend to crowd around, and then they get tempted to get involved. Mind your own business. Don't get involved in that stuff. That's how riots start. 24, refusing or failing to obey orders. Non-compliance with a legitimate order from a TDCJ ID employee. So, if I give you a direct order to do anything, and this goes for most prisons, and you refuse to do it, you're going to get a ticket. So if I tell you, clean your cell up, it's a mess, do it. I tell you, get up from the chow hall, time for you to go, you're talking too loud, you're creating a problem. If you don't, guess what? You get a ticket. 24-1, refusing to groom, shave, or get a haircut. They don't really enforce that super strongly. Texas was more strong on it than Arizona. Arizona didn't care if you wanted to be a pig, you could be a pig. Yeah. They'd give you a ticket and stuff, but I've never seen them force a shower on anybody. 25, refusing to work. Refusing to begin or complete work assignment without legitimate reason, such as an illness. So if you don't want to go to work, you have to go to the nurse and get a doctor and get a lay-in. You've got to have be seen by the doctor, and they give you a square thing saying that you put on your locker saying that, you're sick. You can't just say, I'm not going to work without an explanation. And then you have to prove it. So, 25-1, refusing to attend an academic or vocational program in which the inmate is enrolled without a legitimate reason, such as illness. So there's a lot of educational programs, GED and different things. These teachers are paid to help you. Excuse me. And if you refuse to go, you're going to be in trouble. Malandering. Pretending to be ill or otherwise incapacitated in order to avoid duty or work. I've got that highlighted. Malingering. It's called malingering. I said malingering. Malingering. That's kind of like slow playing, bullshitting around. Just get on with it and get to work. I don't want to have to stand around, follow you, and babysit you while you're slow playing. 27, out of place. Out of place is a big one. In any unauthorized area, a cell or wing to which one is not assigned, or failure to be at a designated area at a specific time, or if has a lay-in or something for medical appointment but does not go, but goes to the library instead. Basically, be where you're supposed to be. Don't be in another building that you're not assigned. Don't be in another inmate's house or cell that you're not assigned. Don't be hanging out in the bathroom. Don't try to get into the staff bathroom and steal their toilet paper and stuff. If you're supposed to be at school, you better be at school. If it's count time, you better be in your bunk. Basically, be where you're supposed to be. Pretty simple. I used to write a lot of out-of-place tickets. It's highlighted right there, out of place. 28, failure to work. Failure to complete a reasonable amount of inmates' work assignment with a reasonable period of time, or sleeping on the job. Oops. 29, knowingly making a false statement for the purpose of harming another person. Inmates may not be punished. However, for filing a grievance or lawsuit, participating in a lawsuit, or discussing with others, or the writing to others about actual potential legal action or other forms of grievance or complaint. So, don't make false statements. Don't lie on people. Soliciting assistance from an officer for an inmate to violate the TDCJ rules. So basically, this was a big one too. You cannot solicit an officer to break the rules. So you can't tell me, hey, let this slide. You could get a ticket for that. But most inmates know which officers would write a ticket for that or not. And arguing with an officer when they're telling you you can't do that. And you're asking them to break the rules. Don't ask me to break the rules. So that's it. That was number 30. After we finish the level 3 offenses, we will discuss the procedures and look at the documents that you have to go through and fill out. And, that will kind of help you beat a bunk ticket. Some tickets are beaten. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. And every view matters, every sub matters. And please watch the videos.